Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov chess channel and welcome to a spectacular chess game that I prepared for you today. Welcome to an amazing gameplay by Alexei Shirov against Judit Polgar back from the 1994 Buenos Aires competition, in which we had a really great tournament with 8 top grandmasters. Look at this, the lineup of this event was really crazy. Valery Salov, Vishwanathanandan, Vasily Ivanchuk, Judit Polgar, Anatoly Karpov, Alexei Shirov, Gata Kamsky and Lyubomir Lyuboyevich. And actually, if you see now this list, Valery Salov was the winner, which is really crazy. Vishy Anand also great result, but Judit Polgar also great with 7 points. So in the 90s, really great chess games has been played, and the game that I've decided to show you today is the amazing game, the amazing Taimanov Sicilian here by Judit Polgar with the black pieces against Alexei Shirov. This game is also many times called the Judit Polgar Immortal, one of many, I would say, Judit Polgar Immortals, because Judit, of course, played crazy spectacular games through her career. But I decided to show this one because it had such brilliant ideas in the middle game stage. And why I'm showing you now so many Judit Polgar games, actually the reason behind this is that when I watch now the live coverage, the live analysis of the FIDE World Chess Championship match between Gukesh and Dingliren, I simply think that Judit Polgar does the best job. She's my favorite commentator of these games because she's connecting somehow not only top engine analysis, but also her maybe prepared lines in some openings, which are maybe even not the top decisions by top engine, but I really love her analysis, how she has prepared somewhere some crazy tactics, and she's also connecting beautiful chess history with this analysis, because she was of course part of her personal connection to the top grandmasters, maybe of the 90s, 80s, and maybe also in the later stage of our chess history. So I think she connects everything in a really beautiful way. So that's why she's really my favorite commentator of this amazing World Chess Championship match. So when we have a rest day in the FIDE World Chess Championship match, I've decided now to show you a beautiful Judit Polgar game, and this is now the immortal Judit Polgar Taimanov Sicilian. So with white, Alexei Shirov opened with move e4. We have c5 by Judit, knight to f3, e6, the French Sicilian, open Sicilian now after move d4. Judit trades up now the pawns, and now she challenges here the knight on d4. We have knight to c3 by Alexei Shirov, normal development, and now comes the standard idea of the Taimanov Sicilian, which is of course the move d6, keeping of course the flexible pawn structure. If the position allows it, maybe afterwards we can play e5, or maybe if the position allows it, also we can break and enter with the move d5. And here Alexei Shirov plays, I think, a beautiful line, a very aggressive line with the move g4, and this is the way to go. And Alexei Shirov, we have to also say, Alexei is really one of the greatest attackers of all times. He was in one particular moment of chess history the #2 in the world, and he shows already that he's not scared, that he'll try to do anything just in order to keep the pressure against Black King. And now Judit goes for the queenside flank attack, also with the counter attack here with the move a6, and then preparing of course the move b5. We have now bishop to e3, preparing now maybe queen to d2, and then queenside castling, and then maybe also to continue the pressure on the king side. We have now knight from g to e7, which is an interesting choice here by Judit Polgar. I think it's a more accurate approach, because if you play knight to f6 immediately, then white would expand simply with this idea, and then you have a problem with the d6 pawn. The knight is misplaced a little bit. You have worries where to continue the pressure. b5 is not possible because the knight is loose. So suddenly white would have really a huge space advantage here on this side of the board. So knight from g to e7 is perfectly fine, but the downside a little bit also of this line is that now the bishop is not connected anymore to the d6 pawn, so maybe it's now easier for white to put more pressure against this weakness. But okay, here knight to b3 played by Alexei Shirov. We have b5, f4. Here white continues the pressure. We have bishop to b7, and now comes the first, I would say, critical moment of the game already. Here Alexei Shirov makes already his first tiny little inaccuracy with the move queen to f3. He lines up now the queen against Black's light square bishop, which was simply not the best way here. A better choice is to continue the pressure with h4, but okay, h4 is aggressive, and probably black is not going to castle, of course, into white's attack. But then black should probably try, I don't know, knight to a5 with the progressive plan to maybe somehow play the move b4, attack the knight, go for the pawn on e4, then after queen to f3, then rook to c8, or maybe even you can play immediately rook to c8 is, I think, an option to simply put more pressure against this knight. In some lines, as we said, b4, then d5 could happen, so this would be a playable position now, I'd say, here for both sides. But okay, here after queen to f3, the position becomes already very dynamic, and Judit Polgar found now an amazing move. And maybe just for fun, if you want to practice some middle game ideas, some middle game plans, pause the video and try to see now the best idea here for black. It's not like black moves and wins the game, but I think if you don't find this move, you will have huge positional problems in the later stage of the game from black's perspective. So it was sort of a must move, but the must move was actually a brilliant move here by Judit Polgar. So what would you do now in this particular position? Okay, the must move, the only good move, and it's a brilliant move, is here the amazing g5. This is the way to go. For instance, if you ignore the strat, let's see, if you don't play f takes g5, if you play here queenside castling, then after g takes f4, bishop to f4, and knight to g6, actually here black is much better already. You continue with the pressure, bishop to g3, but now you can play again this b4 stuff. You can play here knight from c to e5, connecting everything, then go here simply for the c4 square, rook to c8, b4, bishop to g7. In this scenario, I would say black doesn't have to even to castle. Black will keep now huge pressure against white's king, so finally the pieces are breathing. All of the pieces of blacks would be on optimal, almost optimal squares, so it's not a good continuation here for white. So that's why I removed g5. Actually, Alexei Shirov had to accept now the challenge and played now f takes g5, but now after knight to e5, look at this, with this idea, Judit liberated a beautiful square now for the knight, and here there are not so many options. Queen to f2 is of course not a good move here for white, because knight to g4 would happen. Even if you try queen to g3, then again this b4 idea is coming. You're trying, I don't know, knight to e2, then bishop to e4, then you're trying maybe to cover, but then we simply trade it off. And now look at this, with knight to d5, I would say it's not immediately game over, but look at this, how powerful these two knights in the center of the board are. The bishop is hanging on e3, a5, a4 would happen, bishop to g7 is going to happen, the c file is open. Wherever white castles, I think it's not good, because if you castle kingside, already you have weakened too much the structure. If you castle queenside, then the files are opened already, so it's really not a pleasant position anymore here for white in this particular scenario. So that's why for knight to e5, Judit Polgar had to, pardon me, Alexei Shirov had to play here king to g2, queen to g2. But the issue is now that this queen is taking over now the square g2, which would be useful, of course, for the bishop. So the queen took now a natural square for the light square bishop, and Judit Polgar continues now with the plan b4 after knight to e2. Maybe just for fun, again, try to see now the best continuation here for black. Again, it's not like black moves and wins the game, but again, you have to simply find the best ideas in order to somehow continue the pressure. If you play a tiny little passive move, then white could get back into the game by maybe playing queenside castling and also put more pressure here against black's king. So what would you do now in the continuation of the game with the black pieces? Okay, here Judit found again a brilliant plan with the move h5. This is the way to go. Let's see options. For instance, if you play here, I don't know, g takes h6 en passant. This wasn't playing the game, but I was really curious. Then after g takes h6 en passant, you have this one, f5, and the position, I would say, is again not pleasant here for white because of this enormous pressure. Even if you play here g takes f5, then knight to f5 is coming in a beautiful way into the game. Look at this, bishop is hanging, the knights are dancing all over the center, so it's simply not working. Even if you try, I don't know, to play queenside castling here, then h takes g4 is perfectly fine, and I would say a good position for black, with the idea maybe to hop the later with the knight on f3. Bishop will be liberated. Maybe again we can continue with this a5 a4 plan, so I would say perfect position here for black. But after h5, what Alexei Shirov played, he took here the pawn on h5, and now Judit found a beautiful counterplay with knight to f5. This is the way they go, using still this momentum, using still this attack against the bishop against the queen, and suddenly black is taking over here in this position. Here I would say now it becomes really a one-way ticket, but in black's favor. So what should you do? If you play here e takes f5, then simply the queen is lost, and actually this line is suggested by Stockfish17 that you should give up the queen just in order to stay in the game somehow. Then after rook to c8 you can go like this, and here in any of these lines I would mention black is much better, but maybe you can hold this position somehow if you continue like this. Then maybe with I don't know, knight to d4, going for the c6 square, queen to e7, casting, then you give up this pawn. But then after knight to, I don't know, knight to g3, you can maybe start also to put more pressure against black's king. So this was the only way how somehow to stay in the game. But after knight to f5, Alexei Shirov played bishop to f2, which wasn't so good because now queen to g5. Great follow-up here by Judit Polgar. Great move, because if you play now queen to g5, then the issue is knight to f3, king to d1, and then knight to g5 again wins the queen back. H4 pawn is h5 pawn is weak, the e4 pawn is weak, so it's simply not working here. Even if you try on knight to d2 to stay somehow in the game, and you're trying, I don't know, to somehow go for the castling queen side, then queen to h5, we simply play like this. You're trying knight to g3, knight takes g3. The issue is you cannot pick it up, of course, with the pawn, because then the rook is hanging on h1. Then after bishop to g3, we go for this one. I don't know, bishop to d3. I just wanted to show you one line. You just pick up the piece here and then go with the rook here. In this situation with the beautiful bishop pair, again black should be much better. This pawn is weak. All of these pieces are simply loose by white on the board, so even casting, I think it's working then later, so it's simply not a good position. d5. So many great plans are simply here for black. After queen to g5, that's why Alexei Shirov tried knight to a5, which was even worse continuation. Now Judit Polgar found a beautiful knight to e3. This is the way they go. This is an amazing move. If you try now maybe a queen to g5, look at this, then the knight to f3 is an amazing checkmate with both of this knight. So that's why after here the knight to e3, of course if you play here bishop to e3, then the queen is coming actively into the game, and then this pawn is weak, then the f3 square is weak, so again not a good continuation here for white. After queen to g5, that's why queen to g3 by Alexei Shirov. Judit Polgar took now, but the pawn on c2 was weak, and now we have the fork against the king and the rook. Judit took now, of course Alexei Shirov took now the piece, but you look how precise were the calculations by Judit Polgar, because although it seems so that the knight on a1 could be taken, there is now this brilliant b3 which brings now the knight back into the game. If you ignore it, maybe the knight to c2 is going to happen, so the knight would be supported and still you can survive this game. If for instance a takes b3 like Alexei Shirov played here happens, then we have knight takes b3 and you're still with your knight into the game. We have king to c2, knight to c5, knight takes c5, d takes c5, and in this particular position I would say black is much better. Black won the exchange, so you see all of this mass created just to reach this position. For d takes c5, the evaluations of course much better for black, and there are still many weaknesses, I would say, in white position. e4 weak, again the h5 pawn is weak, so completely winning position here for Judit Polgar. Bishop to e1, Alexei Shirov tried to battle. We have bishop to c3, knight to d4, trying of course to lock this diagonal here by the bishop against the rook, king to d3, and now a good move by Judit Polgar, bishop to d6. You could maybe try here to play bishop to d4, c takes d4, king to d4, but then I don't know, king to e7. Even if you try something like e5, bishop to c7, again black is much better now. The pawns are on dark squares, both pawns by white. They can be of course an object of black's attack. We'll simply use the attack on the g file, also on the b file here, then we attack the king. I don't know. The rooks are of course much better here in an open battle. So here after bishop to d6 that Judit Polgar played, Alexei Shirov tries a trick, bishop to g2 with maybe some ideas to play e5 and then go for the rook, but of course bishop to e5, the blockade here by Judit, king to c4, king to e7. Again, even if you try something like king takes c5, then you're running actually into even a checkmate sequence, so you cannot really go for this pawn. This pawn is not to be taken here after a couple more moves. I just wanted to demonstrate you how black would continue with the pressure here. We simply trade it off, and then after rook to c3, there is also now huge threat of rook to a3 checkmate. So it's game over here for white. So after king to e7 by Judit, we have now rook to a1, knight to c6, good move, and in this particular position here Alexei Shirov resigns. So what's the issue? If you go of course for this one, then we can play again rook from a to c8, getting the rook in front of the king, and again white is facing many tactical problems because now the king is too endangered. So amazing game played by Judit Polgar. As I said, when we'll have a rest day in the FIDE World Chess Championship match, I made a decision. We'll cover an amazing Judit Polgar game. I think this was a brilliant one. Great progressive plans, how to activate the pieces. When the queen came by Alexei Shirov on f3, Judit Polgar just continued the pressure. Really didn't allow here white to breathe. So really one of her greatest games for sure. So okay, if you want to see also the other game that we have covered by Judit Polgar, here's the link to the video. Please check it out. It was also brilliant attack against the French defense. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Here's also the link, and see you soon with some more videos. What do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.